Because it is. Yo, what up? Welcome to the Blakkavellie show. I'm your host, Brian, and this is my main man, the Jesus. I thought he was going to say something, but...
You say you're smiling.
So, today we are discussing ending generational curses, and we've already discussed quite a bit amongst each other and with our wives or spouses, whatever you want to call it. So
Their wives.
their wives, their spouses. We're married, yeah. So ending generational curses. Just to give a little backdrop, so I actually come from a family of 5, with that being my mom, my stepdad, and my 2 older sisters. And but I have 6 siblings, making 7 of us total. And I was not raised with 4 of them, so I don't know what their whole thing is. I know them. I've met every one of them. I went to school with my sister, who's like 4 months older than me, believe it or not. But yeah,
I think growing up in a nuclear family, I guess is what they call it, where you have multiple partners, children from different partners, things like that, or you have a partner that has children that they bring into the relationship.
mm-hmm.
Growing up in a family like that is difficult because there's a lot of abandonment issues or issues where they feel, children will feel like I felt like I was abandoned by my dad, and so when I was younger, I always wanted to be around my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and he wasn't really looking for me like that, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, he came around up until probably the 3rd or 4th grade, and then that's when he disappeared. And when I say he came around, like, it wasn't like all the time, like, it was once in a blue moon. So, yeah, that sucked.
My dad was pretty much the same way.
And then, I'm trying to think. I reconnected with him when I was like 21. I looked for him on my own. And that was mostly like a self-discovery deal. Like I wanted to know who my family was.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I missed out a lot of my life of getting to know another side of my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reached out to him, or I reached out to some family that we were still kind of like in contact with, or we knew about. Found their numbers, looked them up, and got a hold of them, and then got a hold of my dad and reconnected with him. So yeah, got to meet a whole side of my family that I didn't get to meet, and then I joined the military. So I made some good bonds. Probably like about a year and a half or 2, maybe. I stayed around, and then I joined the military because my plan was to join the military at first, and I ended up meeting my dad again and reconnecting with all of his family that I never met before in my life. So it was pretty cool, And then after that, I made some bonds that to this day are pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird because some of the people I connected with, I didn't spend as much time with, but the ones that I really spent a lot of time with, I figured I'd have stronger bonds with them. But I think they had abandonment issues because I just went to the military. I created abandonment issues. Like first, my little brother Matthew, I think he has some type of a little bit of resentment. My cousin Estelle maybe has a little bit of resentment, because the way I left was just like abrupt.
Yeah.
And I was in a bad place though. Like when I was going through it, when I met my family and everything like that, I was engaged to this girl. I broke off the engagement. Started living on my own. Didn't really like who I was living with. Then I moved that into another apartment with these females, and it was kind of like I was partying a lot,
But would you consider like I don't know what the reason was for breaking off the engagement, but would you consider it to be like because of the lack of relationship with your dad that you weren't able to fully commit to a relationship?
No, I think it was more so because of yeah, I guess you could say that. It had a lot to do with my mom though, because I felt like I was scared to commit to someone who I felt didn't really truly want to be with me in the way that I wanted to be with them.
Right.
And seeing my mom be with multiple partners, not that she was with a whole bunch of people, but being I didn't get to see her with my dad, but I saw her with my stepdad, and I saw her with my ex stepdad, because my brother and sister's dad, he ended up leaving. And then I think wanting to get married and do all that stuff was the idea and the concept that I believe was the right thing to do with whoever you're going to be with. And I was very, I was like, I didn't want to have sex until I got married. I didn't want to do all this stuff and whatever. We ended up having sex before we got married, obviously. But, still I wanted to do things the right way, but she wanted to do things a certain way too. So we try to respect each other. But then after a while, it's like the idea and the concept of being in a relationship and getting married was more than what was more of the foundation of than actually what we felt about each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like if we would have gotten married and kept it going, we would end up getting divorced anyway. Because we didn't have similar. We got along really well, and we got to know each other really well. We were like really close friends.
Which I wasn't.
Yeah, I feel like that love wasn't really there.
Yeah.
In a way,
Yeah.
were we attracted to each other? Yeah, but wasn't the same. Like I just felt like it was kind of like empty. This seemed kind of empty. So anyway, man, I ended up calling it off. It was pretty bad. I stopped talking to her and everything, and I knew it was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so then later on, I met another girl. I was in the military. And I got married to her. And we should have got divorced. That was it. That was a mistake too. But I did that because I really thought, honestly, I thought that I was going to end up going to the military, getting deployed, going to Afghanistan, probably getting killed out there. So I figured, well, now I kind of got to rush to live my life in a way that I feel like is respectable and that people would kind of remember me for, miss me when I'm gone kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like that was important to do. And so I ended up getting married to some girl that had a lot of emotional issues and a lot of mental health issues. And I guess I did too in a way, but they were just not dealt with,
Right.
So, and or at least I dealt with them not in the best way,
Which is usually how
substance abuse, which is what my dad went through. My dad did the same stuff. Substance abuse was his deal. So,
I had a guy tell me once that I was gonna be an addict because everybody in my family was addicts, and it was statistical for me to become what I was around.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried everything I could not to become an addict. Like, I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I lived what they call a straight edge life.
Yes.
But I still had what I didn't realize. I was still addicted to lust, and it wasn't even the fact of sex. It was just lust after women, not like lust after money or cars or something like that. It was just women I was infatuated with, and to the point that I couldn't see myself with just one person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was creating problems, and I would not settle. And so once I started realizing it, I started writing about it and writing poetry and everything. And so,
see, I was like the opposite. I was like, every woman I get with is gonna be the one.
that's how it started.
I was like, you're the one.
You
want to get married?
You want to get married?
I love you.
Day one.
Day one.
I love you.
Did I tell you we should get married? And I love you.
Hi, my name is. You want to get married?
Hi, how you doing? I love you. I'm bad for you. Now, I've been infatuated one time, bro. That shit is scary. I was infatuated with this one girl one time. Oh, I won't say her name because if she'll ever watch this. But bro, I was infatuated, and it was like sickening. I couldn't stop thinking about this girl. Nothing. It was bad, and she would have been a horrible person to be with, bro. She struggled with alcoholism, like bad, bro. We were young. For her to be struggling with alcoholism at our age was bad.
Yeah.
You know, this is like right before I joined the military. So I was a little bit of a hoe, but I was like, oh, I think she's the one. But man, I was infatuated with her, bro. And so she was just, she was a very sexual person too. So it was just like it was hard. But yeah, she not in any way, shape, or form did she ever look at me like that. But she was such alcoholic, and just it was sad.
Wow.
I thought I could save her.
I went through that phase.
Yeah, it was bad.
I could be your savior. I could save you. I can get you out of this bad place.
And my ex-wife, it was like that too. I thought I could save her from all her issues and, make things better. Because I always had these visions of grandeur. You know what I'm saying? I always thought I was going to do these great things.
Yeah.
And I felt like I just needed that one partner that was going to take me there.
Right.
That was going to do it with, that we were going to be in sync with each other.
Right. I had my pastor's wife one time pull me aside and told me that I had a big heart, but I can't save everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about a girl that I was dating at the time. And she was like, you can't save everybody, baby. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to tell you right now. Some of them, you just got to let them live their life. And I was like, what? I don't understand. And I went through hell with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. With that girl I was infatuated with, from there, I just kind of like try to ease off that infatuation and started kind of like being free.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I became just like, all right, I'm just gonna date people and then see where it goes from there. Kind of chill out, whatever.
Yeah.
When I met my ex-wife, I was like really desperate though. I was worried that my life was gonna come to an end soon, and so I needed to do something.
Mm.
But then once I realized it was bad and it wasn't a good fit, and I made a mistake, I still kept on. I said, well, I could probably make things better, just give it time, you know what I'm saying? Because my ex-wife was young, she was still kind of like maturing.
Yeah.
And so was I was young too. No. Instead, we decided to have a baby, which I don't regret at all.
Right.
But at the same time, it was just like,
It's
well, we're having this child, this is going to be hard on the child.
mm.
Because I know that my child's going to see that we are not happy together.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get along like we should as a couple, and we don't see eye to eye. It was always arguing about stuff. It was real bad. So,
Wow.
but now, and it's like there's different things. Not just about relationships. It's about how you live your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I drink, but like it's rare. Like
Yeah.
I think I drink like maybe once or twice a year, at that, and then maybe like I'm such a lightweight now. I used to drink a lot. Like, when I was in the military, I used to get smashed in the military. I was by myself though. I was a geographical bachelor. We just go hang out all the time. I didn't have no kids, nothing.
A geographical bachelor.
Well, because I was married, but I lived in Italy, and then my ex-wife, she stayed in the States,
Right.
So, anyway, we used to party, and I used to get drunk a lot. But, who knows, like, what would have happened if she would have actually came to Italy like I was hoping she was going to do once we got married. But, anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's how life turned out. But I think also what's important too is being financially responsible in your life. Like my family, I don't know what it's like to be financially responsible. I've never been.
I don't either.
I've never grown up. I did not grow up in a place where people were financially responsible. The only time I've seen people who were doing well with their finances were people who own land and property, and they had generational wealth.
Right.
And that was when I used to go to Vermont to the Fresh Air Fund, and I used to visit with these people. This family used to take me in. I used to hang out with them and stuff like that for like a month. And they had generational wealth. That to this day, I always think that if my life were to go south in some way, shape, or form. If I got the what is it? Was it Job that his whole family got murdered?
Mm-hmm.
Not murdered, but
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. He got everybody got wiped out.
Died,
Everybody died. His wife left him. Right.
Yeah.
If I ever got Job, I'm going to Vermont. So you know, right now.
Why not New Hampshire?
No, because Vermont is where these people are at, and I know if I had to go somewhere, I
think
would
I would
start
go
my
to-
life over and go there. These people have farmland, like farmland. They have cows. Um, they have crops. They got maple syrup. They do maple syrup also. They sell maple syrup. Like they got
a Canadian thing.
no. Well, Vermont's up there.
Well, I mean, it's up there, but it's not there.
No, Vermont. They got some Canada.
They got some
Maple syrup. They got some Canadian maple syrup. No, they got some bomb. Like that maple syrup, bro, is like. I would hit them up. I should hit them up. I still keep in touch with them every so often.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there was like 4 brothers that were there in the household, and I was older than the youngest, and a year or 2 younger than the one that was the second youngest. And then the oldest one, he was pretty much in college or out of college by the time I got over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was about to be out of high school when I got over there. So yeah, like so they were all cool, man. They were all pretty cool. Even the youngest one, like me and him didn't get along sometimes, but he was a cool kid. Like he wasn't a bad kid. Like they're all cool people, you know. So it was a good time. Cool family.
So let's get into generational curses or ancestral sin. We're gonna look at the definition.
Okay.
We're gonna break it down and see if, like, by looking at the definition, how are we influenced by ancestral sin or generational curse, and how are we changing, trying not to continue that, or how we're ending it. So the definition of ancestral sin is, according to Wikipedia, ancestral sin, generational sin, or ancestral fault is the doctrine that individuals inherit the judgment for the sin of their ancestors. It exists primarily as a concept in Mediterranean religions. Generational sin is referenced in the Bible in Exodus 20, verse 5. And what is a generational curse? According to the Gospel Coalition, a generational curse describes the cumulative, could never say that word,
Cumulative?
Yeah, effect on a person of things that their ancestors did, believed, or practiced in the past, and a consequence of an ancestor's actions, beliefs, and sins being passed down. That is pretty. So, generational curses are covered in the Bible, but they're referred to as ancestral sin or generational sin, such as like Noah, when the flood happened because of sins that was passed down from Adam and Eve, or miscarriages is passed down because of Eve, or so some people think or believe. So if somebody has a miscarriage, they immediately start thinking about themselves, or like, what did I do wrong, or whatever. And sometimes they even think like they are being cursed by God because they weren't allowed to have that baby. It's really bad if it's their first child. If it's like their 4th or 5th, it's not as bad. But if it's their first child and they miscarry,
it's rough.
Yeah, it's really bad. So the belief is that it comes from Eve and the original sin or the first sin or however you want to look that up. And it's all based on ancestral sin or generational curses. It just depends on, I guess, what religion you are, because there's different religions or different religions. There's Christianity, there's Judaism, there's Hinduism, that all have the generational curse, but they just come from different points. So, if you're interested, you can look up Exodus 20 verse 5. You can also look up Exodus 34 verse 7, Deuteronomy 24 verse 16. If you are a Christian or if you practice Judaism, if you're Muslim, I got nothing for you on this topic anyway.
I thought with Christianity with their ancestral sin, when Jesus died on the cross, didn't he wipe away a lot of that?
He became sin and died for he was sin. He died for our sins by taking in the form of sin. But tradition forms a whole new level of ancestral sin, such as if a woman gets raped by a family member and she,
like an incest rape.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not even incest. It could be like the husband of the sister. So
that was what I was asking. Is it like an ancestral rape?
It's just we'll say ancestral rape for the sake of the story. She gets raped by a family member. She carries out the birth, but then she gives the baby up for adoption or, orphans the baby in some fashion. Then down the line of that child's lineage, they will begin to seek out who their family is. Because either they know that they were raised in an adopted family, or they just found out that they're adopted. So now they're going to go out and they're going to start looking for the rest of their family. And they find that family and they tell the story of, this is what happened to me and this is my mother. I know this factual because I just found this out over the summer, that it happened to, which would be my grandma's nephew, because her mom was raped by her brother-in-law. And she had the baby, but she gave the baby up. And he found out who his grandfather was, which would be this baby. This my I guess cousin found out who his grandfather was, did the ancestral.com or ancestry.com thing, and found one of my other cousins, and they linked up, and he started putting leaves together and found the story. So he was raised to believe that his aunt was his mom, but it was actually her little sister that was his mom.
Have you ever done Ancestry.com?
I have.
You're finding hidden family? Because you know a lot of your family. Like, you have, like, family reunions and stuff like that. You have, like, a huge family. Like, everybody in your family.
Like, just about, like, I did it because I wanted to know more about my dad's side of the family.
Okay.
And I found a lot of family in San Diego. I just haven't quite connected the dots as to how they are, because they have the same last name as my dad, but whenever I mentioned like who my dad was, who my grandma was,
whose last name do you have?
I have my mom's dad's last name, which was my mom's maiden name.
Okay, so you got your mom's maiden name.
Yeah.
I have my mom's maiden name, but that's not even her dad's last name. Or her, yeah, or her mom's last name.
What?
Yes. I have, so my mom is De Jesus. Her dad, I think, is an Ortiz. And my grandmother, her mom, is a Rivera.
So what the?
I know.
Well,
My grandmother.
She was like, of Jesus.
Jesus. Jesus.
We just gonna go with that.
We're gonna go with Jesus because I feel like that's all right. No one's gonna ask any questions. No, she. So my grandmother was with my grandfather, my biological grandfather, and then they broke up like right away. He didn't want nothing to do with her. She's 14 years old with a baby. Whatever. My grandmother started let her. I want to say it's her cousin. To be honest with you, I want to say it was like her cousin. Started taking care of her, and they started shacking up. One of her cousins, yeah. And didn't last very long, but it lasted long enough that when she had this baby,
She named the baby
after she gave him his last name. I mean, she gave my mom. She gave my mom his last name.
Right.
So, because of that, that's how I became a De Jesus, because my mom got the name from her uncle, basically. Yeah, so basically my mom's uncle. And then when she had me, my dad wasn't in the picture. He actually denied me at first, but I don't think because he wanted to, because he heard stories allegedly.
Same
For an
thing.
excuse as to, she might have been with some other guys, I don't even know if I'm the dad or not.
Same thing.
But he knew. And so when he told his grandpa, who raised him, his grandpa was like, well, we're going to go to court then. We got to get proof that it's your baby. And at the time, getting a DNA sample from a child was really hard and difficult, I guess. Because, it's back in the 80s. Back in the 1900s. It was difficult, I guess, at the time. So, it was never reopened. They kind of just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
I could go back to court right now with that DNA test if I wanted to and sue my dad for child support.
Damn. See, my mom. I don't think my mom ever did that with.
But anyway, so because of that, I wasn't on the birth certificate. But she did give me his middle name, which is his first name. His first name is my middle name.
Okay.
So she gave me my middle name, which is his first name.
Okay.
So that's the only thing she's like, you got that.
I didn't get anything from my dad. I was named after cousins.
Good. I mean, that's not bad. That's a good thing too. My dad tripped on me one time. Was like, you need to change your last name. Change your last name to my last name. Yada yada yada. And I'm like, why? He said, cause this is your. Here's the crazy part. Listen to this. My dad's last name is my grandmother's maiden name. So that's not even his dad's last name.
What?
Exactly. I was like, you want me to change my last name to your last name?
But your last
that's
name.
That's not even what your name's supposed to be if you're going back. You know what I'm saying? But here's the crazy part. His dad's last name is Ortiz. So it would have been Ortiz regardless. Because they have different. I mean, obviously they're different people, but.
So would that have been a hyphenated name?
Ortiz. Johnny O. Johnny O. Johnny O. Oh. Ortiz.
So.
I think there's an Ortiz funeral home, like conglomerate in New York. I want to say it's Ortiz Funeral Home. I'm pretty sure there's like a whole bunch of them in New York. Ortiz Funeral Homes. They own they're a franchise of funeral homes. Anyway.
My dad's sisters tried to get me to change my last name to Harris. And they was like, I don't know what you're waiting on. You look just like the man. You might as well go ahead and change the last name. And I was like, well, if he wanted me to have his last name, he would have been at the hospital when I was born.
Preach.
But,
down. Same thing with my dad.
As a different time.
He would have came looking for me. I came looking for his ass. It wasn't like he was looking for me. Where you at? Change your name.
You know what? I found this out from my dad because I knew that my sister was born like 3.5 months before me. And we went to school together. We graduated high school together, and everything. But we never really had like a brother sister relationship. It was like I know her, like oh man, I know that girl, and that was about it. But so no, I was 18. I moved in with my dad. I went to broadcasting school, and my dad would like almost every day. He'd be like, "Come on, let's go out and play catch and throw the football or whatever." And I'm like, "All right, whatever." I've always longed to have that relationship, and I finally got it. And so he would sit down and he would just like talk about 1986, 87, 88, 89. So my dad was in the National Guard in Watanga, and he left Watanga when my sister was 8 years old. So I would have been 7, 8ish. I went through hell up until that point, up until I was about 8 years old. I had been abused physically. I'd been mentally abused. I'd been wanting to commit suicide. I had been like I didn't feel wanted by anybody. My sisters, my mom, nobody. And my dad was in the same town the whole time. He even tried to take my sister, which would be his oldest daughter. Tried to take her, but didn't want nothing to do with me.
Wow.
And so my biggest fear my entire life was turning out like my dad. Was having children and not being a part of their lives.
Mm-hmm. So technically, it's like doing what? So here's what I was thinking about, right? We're talking about generational curses. That curse is still there because even though you are living a life where you're not trying to live in that sin or use that, the fear of being that way is with you.
Right.
So really, the generational curse ends when your children know nothing of this and live their lives to a way that is best for them, I guess, or
right.
be, So, but they're gonna have their own stories to say about us.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? We don't even think about it. Like right now, we're like whatever,
Yeah.
And we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. But I already know my kids are like, yeah, well, my dad he did this, or my mom she did that, So because of that, that's why I'm this way.
Yeah. And like it's hard to even say like I was raised by my stepdad, and I know how he disciplined us. I know how he loved us. I don't know how my dad disciplined or loved because he wasn't there.
I guess you could say he didn't.
No, I mean, not just
was he there
towards
for
me.
he there for your other siblings?
He was in my sister and my two brothers' lives up until I think my youngest brother was probably maybe 3 or 4. But then I have a baby sister who he raised up until 18, and probably still has a very damn good relationship with her. But her mom left, so she was still raised by a biological father and a stepmom up to a point when they split. Yeah. So it's just like I don't know. I wrote a song where I put in there about how my life could have been. Like I could have been in a gang, or I could have been dead, or I could have been a crackhead, basically, if it wasn't for things that I saw, I witnessed with my own eyes, and things that I went through, and I blamed it all on not having a relationship with my dad.
Yeah.
Whether that's the case or not, I can't say. Because I didn't have that relationship, so I can't say, yeah, it would have been different. Because it could have been still the same way, just both parents there. So I don't know.
You know, I feel like your environment really influences you one way or another. And who you grow up with, yeah. I mean, if you had, I don't know if necessarily, like, I had to start from somewhere, right? So I don't know necessarily, like, I know they tell me all the time, or if I hear people, even my dad says it, like, my real dad was like, it's a good thing you didn't have me in your life. Like, your mom did good. Like, I probably didn't need to be in your life anyway. I was like, you're right.
You know,
but I don't know that for sure. I don't know that for sure. I was like, man, it would have been good, but he's not normal, bro. Like, he's got problems. And, like, even to this day, like, I talk to my little siblings that had him in their lives longer, you know, like, and my little sister, Vanessa's, like, 21. She's 21. Yeah. And then my little brother TJ, he's 18 now. So, anyway, they struggle with their relationship with him, and you know, I don't think they regret having him around. Or like, I wish I had a different dad. Maybe they do. I don't know. I feel like they're better for it, for having him around as much as they did, because they're both really intelligent, super intelligent, and they're living a decently good life. You know, because financially they were way more stable than I grew up. They were way poorer than they did. Not that that means anything, because being poor.
But is that just because your dad was in their life, or is it like location?
It's because we struggled, and my mom didn't have that financial stability, you know, and so like they were a little bit more financially stable, but it wasn't just because of my dad providing for them. Also because their mom made sure she took care of them too, you know. So she was able to, but they did stuff together. Also, in the beginning, because they had that relationship, you know. And then my mom, she developed a relationship later on with my ex-stepdad. And they did their thing, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like we grew up in the fucking shack. You know, they took care of us. We weren't like super poor, but we were, you know, we were definitely lower class.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of financially, economically. Grew up on welfare, stuff like that, you know. So.
I don't think we grew up on welfare. We grew up in a HUD house.
But I grew up in a HUD house and on welfare.
I know my grandma. She used to have the paper, the money food stamps.
Yep. Grew up on those.
And
one time I found a book of like fives.
What?
Yes, bro.
Like,
is it fives or tens? It's a book, bro.
Dang.
A whole book. I found it in.
Did you take it to the museum?
The museum? No. I'm talking about. What are you talking about to the museum?
Like, when did you find it?
When they were still being used.
I thought you meant like after they came out.
No, hell no. If you
like,
find a book of fives or tens today, I'd be like, who's? No, I thought it was back then.
Like, it wasn't faded or nothing.
No,
like, did you take that? Boy, you can get some money for that.
Shit. I found a book of fives or tens today. Somebody would have slapped me. Like, what did you do? See, I told you. Nah, I found it in the staircase one time. I was leaving the apartment building where my grandmother lived to go outside. And when I got downstairs, I saw that book down there. I was like, oh shit, I know what this is.
I know what mine is.
So I brought her back up to my grandmother, and then she changed it for little money, you know.
Did you take her up there and say, Grandma, you ain't got to work no more?
She didn't work. Hence the food stamps. No, she was super. She was like, what? She was like, where'd you find this? I was like, it was in the staircase. She's like, well, I think it was mine anyway. I said, no, it wasn't. I found it in the staircase.
I found it in the staircase.
And so, anyway, she gave me like $10 out of it, I think. And she'll probably change it for cash, because they could do that back then. Maybe not, it was illegal to do it, but they would do it all the time. Change it out for cash.
Yeah, people still do that.
Yeah.
With the card.
Oh, yeah.
Because they ain't got out of that generational curse yet.
Mm-hmm. So, they went ahead and, I remember I ended up buying some these marble cards, trading cards, trading cards. And, bro, I found this one card in this deck that was, like, super rare. Like, even today, it's not worth as much money as I thought it was going to be, though. That's the only thing. But at that time, back then, it was worth a hell of a lot of money. And I traded it like an idiot. Just some kids. But, anyway.
And those kids
But
became.
no, this was some kid. It was a kid. It was one kid. This kid had some kid named Max.
I was gonna say he became like.
His name was Max.
What's my coffee? He became like the.
He was like Russian or something like that, Russian or German or something.
His name was Max.
Yeah. Anyway, he was a cool kid though. And he
Max
had like what I traded his that one card, and he gave me like 20 other cards.
You should have known right there.
Well, he gave me some good cards too. Like he gave me a collection.
It wasn't good enough. He got rid of 20 cards.
I know. But
Like,
now you could buy those. You could buy all of them, all those cards. You could just buy them for like a couple $100. That's all they're worth.
How are we still like just thinking about that? About trading one card for like 20 cards.
Mm-hmm.
How is that correlated to a generational curse? Would you consider that to be like gambling?
No, I think because okay, so collecting cards and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about what the collector thinks they're worth,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if that one card to you is worth 20, then you would do that trade. That'd be a smart trade to do. And those 20 cards created a complete deal. So I remember with those cards, each page created a scene when you have a full page of cards.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say there was like 9 in a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, those card holders, remember those plastic?
Yeah.
So 9 cards in a scene. I think it was 9 or 12, I can't remember. And that would create a scene. So I was like, I wanted this full scene, but this full scene was special cards. Only that one card was more special than each one of those cards independently. But all of them together created a scene, you know what I'm saying? So that card was legit though. That shit was cool. I wish I could have had everything. And I could have kept on buying and collecting until I got that scene myself.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of getting that one card, but I just wanted that, it was a couple of scenes I think I got altogether, all the missing cards I needed. So now for him it was nothing because he had money, he was able to get all those cards, but that card was so rare that, man, I want to say it was, I can't remember, it was only probably, I could look it up right now. I'll tell you right now, it was like pretty rare, but it wasn't worth as much as I thought it was going to be. Because here we are years and years later.
So, we want to hear from you what your take on generational curses are. If generational curses are from
This is it right here.
biblical, and if your religion.
No fucking way.
See? I told you.
Look at it. This is the card I got.
That's one you got.
That's the one I
want
to give away. I found this card in a bodega, bro. That's where I got that card at a bodega.
What's it worth?
Well, it might not be worth that much. This guy's selling it for $20,000.
What you mean it might not be worth that much?
Because you got to sell it. That's what he's selling it for.
That's what he. Dang.
Shit.
There goes his legacy.
Shut up.
That's probably the dude you gave it to.
But you see, look, 179, 124. Just people are selling it for different amounts.
Yeah.
150, and it's all about the condition it's in too. So.
And this card that he's talking about is a Spider-Man versus Venom card, and he gave it up. He found it in the bodega, so it didn't have any.
I didn't
value.
find it. I bought the pack out of bodega when I found those food stamps, and my grandma gave me that money.
Oh yeah.
And then I just bought that. But that's, like I said, it all depends on how much. How much is worth to you. Some people might be like, oh yeah, I want it. But some dude over here is trying to sell it for $20,000. Damn.
Dang. So, generational curses. What do you believe about generational curses? Have you found yourself living out a generational curse or trying to end a generational curse? Or do you believe that generational curses are biblical? And if you can find it, whichever religion you follow, we are Christian, but we study a lot of different religions. Not that we follow them or believe in them, but we like to learn. We love to learn. Knowledge is power. So let us know in the comments what you think about generational curses, how to end generational curses, and whether you should end generational curses. So, yeah, I'm Brian.
I'm John GZ, John Bon Jovi.
And this is
One
the
John, Little John, Big John,
Blakkavellie show.
JD.
So make sure that you like, comment,
Johnny O.
subscribe, and
Johnny
hit the
O.
bell for notifications.
Johnny Ortiz
And
Torres.
love, peace, and chicken grease. Holla at your boy. We out.
Later.